Dumb Fun Show.
Thanks for hanging out with the Big Dumb Fun Show. We are online at BigDumbFunShow.com. Keep up with us. We're rocking the social networking sites like MySpace. I know I said it. That's right, MySpace. YouTube, Twitter, Eventful. We're on Reverb Nation and Facebook.com/BigDumbFunShow. You will find us right there.
We try to keep up on all the stuff going around the nation. We tried to keep tabs on the Occupy Wall Street folks when that first came down, and then it became crazy. It went from city to city to city. Of course, Kansas City no different, and then we were able to have Jeff and Tyler on with OccupyKC.com is kind of like their faction. But at that point in time, a couple of weeks ago, it had actually spread to 80 different cities in the United States. And so we had you on just to kind of figure out what's going on in Kansas City, and I'd definitely like to welcome you back again, Jeff Johnson from OccupyKC.com. Appreciate you coming back and just braving it out with us, because it is one of those things where this is a big, dumb, some say fun show, and we don't always talk about some of the serious stuff.
But sometimes we do, and frequently we'll ask guests to be on the show and talk about things like, I don't know, a book about being in the circus, and they're a little concerned. They're afraid that we're going to just make fun of them because of the name of the show. And, and while that might be true sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes we will, especially that awful book about the circus. But
not this.
Not this at all, because we think that this is Gnerk's totally for it. He's totally in there, and I
caught up on it when it first kind of took off there in September on the 19th, and we were able to get the guys from
he bought a ticket to New York.
I wasn't going to go there because I knew it would come here.
Yeah. It
was going to grow, and I think that you, Jeff, like myself, really aren't in the 1%.
No.
Neither is Jeff, our guest Jeff.
We don't know that, and it's awful for you to assume that. But
I know it's been a good month for you, but I don't think it's been that good.
But I mean, I'm not totally for it. I think
why not?
I think it's
what are you going to gain from this 1% of the richest, wealthiest corporate people that aren't doing? You think they're going to reach down there and give you that job that you want?
Might win the lottery at some point.
Obviously, I would like to have some cash, but I'm just saying the movement itself. I'm very interested in it. Not that I'm for it or against it. I want to know all about it and figure out what's going on with this thing. And I think you seem to have a plan, which we've talked with people all over the United States. Nobody else seems to, and so that's where I think our movement is one step ahead of the other movements.
There you go.
Yeah. So you've got, speaking of movements, you're going to be moving on the 30th. That's going to be your next big, latest, and greatest thing, right?
We have a march planned for the 30th. It'll start at 2 o'clock. Actually, we have speakers. It's sort of a several-hour type thing. Mm-hmm. But the march is going to go into the Northeast. The point is to include...
And you're searching for Baby Lisa. Is that the... Did we decide that would be a good move?
If that is a byproduct, then fair enough. But,
wouldn't that be insane? Like how much press would you get
when you
this?
say you're going into the Northeast? What you mean? You're right now
marching east from Ilus Park. It's downtown. Ilus Park is downtown, right next to the federal courthouse and City Hall, and it's a downtown location. We're not camping there. Our main campground. And our only campground at this point is where we started.
Well, it's not really campground. It's the Penn Valley Park. This is the space that when you guys first got going, which was, 3 weeks ago?
Campground. Right. The 30th. September 30th.
September 30th.
It looks kind of like
you guys came forward as people that live here in this community to occupy that space in the same spirit that the Occupy Wall Street people were occupying Zuccotti Park in New York City.
That's exactly right. And we've been there 24/7 since the 30th.
It's right down the road.
Just, within a stone's throw almost from this office as we speak.
Can we offer you a shower?
I personally live in the Northland, about 30 minutes north. I actually have, a full-time
gig
situation.
You get a day job.
So I don't stay overnight. I probably will at some point. I might even bring the kids down. In fact, they're going to start something Friday nights. It's sort of a sleep overnight. They're going to have it's going to be a more inviting situation than just the hardcore campers or whatever.
Now speaking of the camping though, in New York, of course they have to spray down the place weekly. I think that's what they do in New York.
Actually, they didn't close the park.
No.
I believe that the people
they threatened to.
They were going to bring in the police, going to close down the park for what they called a cleaning, which was something that Mayor Bloomberg had used in the past to kind of break up protests.
Yeah.
And in the 11th hour, they said, "Oh, we're not going to do that.
Well, they also said they can't have tents. Are you getting the same kind of flack
and
in
they don't
Kansas
have,
City?
Yeah, they don't have tents there. Here, we've erected some tents because we've had some real cold, rainy weather. Nothing like what we're going to have and what we had in the past, but and the police came out and said, look, we have to enforce the rule. You have to get rid of the tents. And then we sort of had this impasse where, we've gotten some unofficial word that enforcement is off for a while. We're going to go ahead and make a presentation to the Parks and Rec Board to try to convince them to give us. You can get a permit.
Now, if you called it Rockfest, they would have no problem with the tent.
Well, they charge you. I mean, if we had the money, if somebody wants to go ahead and donate, $3,300 a month for us to pay for the permit plus insurance, then we're good to go. But we are not a profit organization. We don't have those kinds of funds.
The park doesn't mind you just hanging out. I guess this is public park, but they do sell it. Like it's kind of a weird line that you run there. Somebody could have their birthday party and say, "You guys have to leave."
Yeah, I don't know how many birthday parties happen there, but I mean because. There isn't a shelter. So there isn't a shelter that gets reserved. Mm-hmm. But you can lease the park to, you can lease any of the parks.
Yeah, this is the park where they have Rockfest, which is a big
huge
national
deal in Kansas City.
Or annual event that takes
Irish
place there.
Fest used to be there. The Gay Pride Fest used to be there.
I just think it's
it used
ironic.
to be a lot of events.
Obviously, the Federal Reserve there as well. And then Liberty Memorial. I mean, you guys are all basically, I've driven by. I've seen the occupation there in Kansas City, tents, people, signage, people moving and meeting and stuff there, really almost in the shadows of Liberty Memorial, which is a World War I memorial for the men and women that died to supposedly protect our freedoms.
Right, and I didn't know this. I didn't know this till recently, but there is a real historical parallel with World War I. World War I vets in 1932, as the Depression was going on, they had been promised some money, and they wanted it from the government. They weren't getting it. And they went and camped out in Washington, D.C., like 20,000 of them. Yeah. And MacArthur burned down their encampment. It was a newsreel, played at theaters. People watched these before the movie, and they ended up with popular support, and they got what they were asking for. Very similar play out here. There's camping. There's some reaction by the police, popular support. Now the question is,
do you have any vets? Are there any vets involved?
Yeah, we have some World War I veterans, believe it or not. No,
I don't mean
the last
I'm
one.
not saying World War I vets, but I'm just saying servicemen, anybody.
No, there are a bunch of guys that look like they spent some time in Vietnam, but I don't know if I can confirm that.
Yeah. Well, let's
can you hang out?
Continue this. Yeah, we'll continue because I want to talk about more about how organized you are because you're totally much more organized. You have a general session every night, and now you're camping out the Friday sleepovers and whatnot. We'll talk a little bit more about your big move, your big march on the 30th.
Sounds good.
And we'll talk about exactly like some of the celebrity status. The celebrities are getting onto this, and whether that's a good or a bad thing. Jeff Johnson, Occupy KC, Big Dumb Fun Show.
No.